So I just go back to my slogan that easy is hard and hard is nearly impossible. Where if you're going at it with a small group of people, uh, you want to have something competitive, but if you over design and overreach on features.
Hey everyone, this is Devin Miller here with another episode of the Inventive Journey, and I am your host, Devin Miller, the serial entrepreneur that's grown several companies to 7- and 8-figure businesses, as well as founded Miller IP Law, where we help startups and small businesses with their patents and trademarks. And today I've got another great guest on that's going to tell a little bit more about his journey, Jason Bloomstein. And just to give you the real quick intro, so he is the founder of ThunderTech.io. And he's had software that's been a big part of his business, and he's done a few work for a few products that have been on AWS and cloud or Google Cloud, and with disaster recovery solutions, and background as enterprise storage and Silicon Valley and all sorts of good stuff. So he'll tell a lot more about his journey, but that's the quick intro. So welcome onto the podcast.
Thanks a lot, Devin. I'm glad to be here.
So I jumped through probably 15, 20, whatever amount of a period of time, but about those 30 seconds. So maybe we'll work to unpack that a bit more. So with that, maybe if you want to jump in and tell us a little bit about your journey and what led up to where you're at today.
Sure. I'll start with where I am now, and then we'll work backwards there from the dawn of the Stone Age there.
All right.
I'm the CEO.
Hopefully not quite to the Stone Age, but
Right.
at least closer to it.
Sounds good. So I'm the CEO of Thunder Technologies. We're a very small company. I'm the founder. We provide a pure solution for the public cloud, and as you said, Amazon and Google. And it solves a disaster recovery automation problem for customers. We mainly target small and medium businesses because we're a very cost-effective solution, who if they run their workload in the public cloud, there's a non-zero, small chance, but non-zero chance they wake up one morning and the data center that's hosting their applications has had some sort of issue, whether long-term or permanent, and they need some way to have their workload move to a different region, which is unaffected. And to date, there's a lot of solutions on the cloud, but they're usually pretty expensive or complicated, targeted towards the enterprise, the larger customers. Or customers have to write the solution themselves, which on their list of priorities is probably not very high. Or they can just cross their fingers and hope it won't happen. And I've been in the disaster recovery field for a long time that if you do nothing, you're going to need it. And if you do something about it, you won't need it. That's just the way karma works. So we have our solution published on the Amazon AWS Marketplace and the Google Cloud Marketplace, the #1 and #2 cloud vendors. And essentially, it's just a simple solution you deploy. It copies your workload between two regions from your primary to a backup one. Could be West Coast to East Coast, or East Coast to Canada, or Europe to Africa, anywhere you want to do. And if something bad happens, just one button you press and your workload continues. So that's where we are today, Thunder Technologies.
So if I were to maybe summarize that or bring it down to my level or everybody else's level. So basically, so for a lot of people, the cloud is magic, right? Or, don't know how it works, but it works. And you have all of your pictures, or if you're a business, you have all your files, or you have all of your, processes running in the background, or you have a virtual machine or whatnot. And, most of the time that works fine. But if you ever have the cloud go down, so wherever your data that is being stored, or wherever it's, cloud is not, it's not really in a cloud, but it's in this offsite or storage that provides it. And if you ever have that go down or ever have any issues, then it creates a problem of getting access. One, either you lose all your data, which is the worst case scenario, but even getting access to it or be able to do it, if the cloud goes down, then you have that problem. So you guys basically provide what would be a backup to the cloud data, so that if that ever, in that eventuality, make sure that you continue to have access to that data or that information or those documents and continue to work as normal. Is that about right?
Absolutely. Said it better than I did. So the problem people face, though, is your chance is pretty remote. These data centers are well built, but there's earthquakes, hurricanes. There's even just software outages. One of the clouds actually had a pretty major outage this week. There's a lot of things that can affect it. But the problem, of course, is if you purchase an expensive solution, it's like buying expensive insurance. Is it worth it? And if you do nothing, you run that risk you said. So our value add is we do it very inexpensively so that you get the best of all worlds. It's like catastrophic insurance with an ultra low premium. That's the closest, I think, metaphor that I could give.
All right. No, I think but as good a coverage, right? So
Right. But as good as coverage as the big
all right.
guys.
So now that we've got kind of where you're at today, you know, as the name of the podcast may imply, we kind of go about the journey. So now let's take that kind of that 1 or 2 steps back, because I assume you didn't just graduate from college and go right to the startup and being there ever since. So what was that journey that kind of led up to where you're at today?
Sure. The journey started quite a while ago. I won't say how long ago, but in Silicon Valley, where I worked, you know, in the high tech, and I ended up in the enterprise storage space, which sounds kind of dull, but actually it was very interesting. There was a lot of innovation going on when I was working through it. The storage had really had been a backwater. People were more interested in high performance and stuff, but a lot of technological advances occurred, and a lot of innovation was going on. But it was mainly targeted towards high-end enterprise customers with large data centers, your banks, your insurance companies, and such. So it was exciting, and we really got to write a lot of sophisticated, clever software that helped solve their problems. But in the back of my mind, I always wanted to, you know, do my own thing and eventually be my own boss. The problem, of course, there were 2 problems with it in the enterprise storage space, and one is startup costs would be gigantic, because even though it sounds like a bunch of disk drives, these sophisticated storage devices back in the day and even currently are extremely expensive. And so to start up my own firm would have cost, I would have to get a lot of venture capital, office space, a data center, cooling, power, tapped into venture capitalists and their funding, of which I'm not really, even though I'm based in Silicon Valley. Just to dispel rumors, we don't all walk around and bump into venture capitalists in the street, you know, just willing out to hand out money to anybody. I really wasn't.
And if only you
plugged into
could just
that crowd.
find the right person that would just hand out the money, like,
Right.
let you follow your dreams with no strings attached. That would be the
Yeah,
perfect world.
unfortunately, it doesn't quite work that way. But the other issue also was, you know, I actually liked working at these companies. They were innovative, you know, well run. It was interesting work. Working with these big enterprises really had sophisticated and challenging problems to solve. And then here, but anywhere, it's not just Silicon Valley, just working with some of the just most brilliant, innovative people in this field was very satisfying. So I also really had no interest in competing against my employer. I liked working there. It's just enterprise storage eventually matured, like a lot of technologies, and people moved on. So it was more that it ran its course. It was a really good run, but you know, there was no rank or anything. Oh, I can do it. I didn't really feel like, oh, I could do it better than these people. It just ran its course. But there was still the bug. But again, I didn't want to spend the time plugging into venture capital. It would have been a complete full-time 24/7, would have taken away from family time and any other interests I had. I needed some kind of avenue to pursue where I would have essentially no or insignificant startup costs. I could just do it in my living room, but I could add value and address a market that's potentially large enough to run a business. And along came the cloud. Amazon and Google and Microsoft and Oracle and such, where that's the very definition of it. Is I just pull up my laptop at night, hook up to my Amazon cloud and play around with stuff, and it costs me a couple of bucks a night to do that. And once I incorporated a company, both Amazon and Google actually provide startup credits to entrepreneurs. So I just go back to my slogan that easy is hard and hard is nearly impossible. Where if you're going at it with a small group of people, uh, you want to have something competitive, but if you over design and overreach on features, you just may simply not have the resources to get it done in a timely manner, and it's just risky. Versus in the big enterprise, you have big resources, and it makes sense. They choose their topics wisely. They work on complicated problems that need a lot of people and equipment that it can't be done by yourself, by the end user, and it makes sense. And you mentioned about law also is I would never write up my own patent because it's not that easy. And having gone through an intellectual property issue at one of my companies, if you don't have that locked down, you can lose your business. So on those kind of things, I would, those have to be complicated. They just are, and you need professional help. But if you're going at it with one or a few people, you got to size your product properly, because if it's too complicated, you'll just get overwhelmed. One decision you make will explode into another 10 and another 10. But just because it's simple, if you choose the solution properly, doesn't mean that it's not competitive. Like I said, there's just no niche for enterprise level disaster recovery in the cloud for the small and medium business. There's either do it yourself, which no one has time, or there's the full bells and whistles for the enterprise who needs all these features. And I'm perfectly good with that. I don't want to compete with that. So we found our niche, and I enjoyed, like you said, just putting together that stuff. I've had my share of very complicated stuff. It was very fulfilling. It's always great to work on that, but again, I didn't need to do that again. Something more simple that I decided myself, and that I decide to kill off stuff I don't like. At this point in my career is as or more fulfilling than the really complicated stuff at the enterprise level that I've kind of been there and done that, but still interested. I mean, but just size it properly. And if it seems too simple, as long as it has something that might resonate with people, it's just not too simple. It's okay.
Yep. Hey, some of the simplest things are the best. So
Yep.
I think that you don't need to, if it doesn't warrant complication and doesn't need it, then I usually say find the simplest way to do it, and that will oftentimes be easier to use and work better with all the clients. So okay, so as we wrap up, if people want to use your product, find your product, get involved, figure out how to DIY, pick your brain, invest in your company, or any or all of the above, what's the best way to reach out and get in contact with you?
Sure. So our URL is thundertech.io. And you can write to me at ceo@thundertech.io. I decided to use that email.
I like the email.
And so that also just has links. If you go on to if you're an AWS user or GCP user, if you go on their marketplaces, again, it's sometimes difficult to sort based on price. So our product is called Thunder for EC2 on Amazon and Thunder for GCP on the GCP marketplace. Both have a free trial that you can try it out yourself without paying us anything. And then, like all cloud solutions, it's just monthly. You use it as long as you think you need it, and if you find you don't meet your needs, you just stop, you cancel and you stop paying. But it's by far the most cost-effective solution for disaster recovery on both clouds at just $20 per month. We charge less per year than our nearest competitor charges per month. And so for the small and medium business in particular, we hope that's appealing.
Well, awesome. Well, I definitely encourage everybody to check out if you're using cloud services and you're wanting to make sure to avoid a major catastrophe. This is an easy and cheaper way to do it, and effective as well. And certainly encourage everybody to find out more and to use your product. And thank you for coming on. It's been a pleasure and fun to talk with your journey, and wish you the best next leg of your journey. For those of you that have your own journey to tell and would like to come on the podcast, feel free to reach out at inventivejourneyguests.com, and you can apply there. If you're a listener, and you make sure to subscribe so you can catch this episode and all the new episodes as they air. And if you ever need any help with patents and trademarks, feel free to reach out to us at Miller IP Law, and we're always here to help. Thanks again, Jason, for coming on. It was fun to have you on, and good luck with the next leg of your journey.
Thanks a lot, Devin. I really enjoyed it.